What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast.
Yeah.
As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support, and thank you guys for showing love on every single episode. I have another guest with me today, a reoccurring guest, Kyd Works.
Gang.
Know Your Damage Works.
Gang.
Spiritual teacher, enlightened teacher. How we feeling today?
I'm marvelous, man. I'm on the mend. I had a little stomach bug. Shit took me out the game. Close to 3 weeks. Close to 3 weeks. Focused. Vigilant. Diligent. Aware. Feeling real responsive. Real magnetic, propulsive, abundant. Rewarded. Blessed.
Is that how you're actually feeling, though?
That's how I'm feeling today, right now, in this moment.
How have you been feeling? We haven't really had much conversation over the past couple months.
Mm-hmm.
How has the past couple months been for you in terms of like mentally? Obviously, I know the ebb and flow, as you've always talked about.
Always, man. Pendulum swinging.
Has there been any lows of lows that?
Yeah, it's always lows. I think we all gotta have lows. If we don't have lows, you ain't living life. If you don't put yourself in position to hurt and feel pain, you're never gonna really know what the beauty of life is.
I kind of want to touch on. We had that one episode.
I've been in some lows recently, but yeah. But continue. I just want to actually answer what you said directly. Like I've been in a few lows recently. Observably, I've observed myself going into the state of a low and taking the time needed to separate from everyone and everything so that I could observe myself honestly and pivot, because I was observing conscientious choices that I was making going against the version of self that I am and the version of self that I'm still in the process of building. I viewed myself potentially beginning to form a new negative feedback loop and potentially revisit an old one in real time. And I did everything necessary to pivot. And right now I'm in the pivot, which is why I feel the way I feel.
You think that's why some people get stuck, is because they don't know how to pivot? Or how
they don't want to pivot.
How pivotal is pivoting?
They don't want to pivot.
Why?
Because we're addicted to our stress. So chemically, our brains recognize the patterns of the chemistry it's in. Reason why when anyone does a substance that alters their brain's chemistry, there's an adverse effect, the high, or if it's the wrong drug or the wrong chemical, an extreme side effect could be a low. That's why a lot of medications that are prescribed for depression have the side effect of suicidal idealization. That seems to be a conundrum that no one will directly address. And every time someone tries to, based on how our world works, how corporate America works, if you got a big enough voice, you ain't gonna get but so far. They'll figure out how to stop you. Because there's a lot of money there. So our lives aren't worth as much as the money. So how could I think that the individual who's indoctrinated into a societal construct, a belief system of how they should be, how they should think, how they should feel, and then how they should respond, even though someone's giving them a blueprint that's not their own. Someone's trying to tell you how to internally respond based on what they perceive your internal landscape to be. When most of us have an extremely hard time defining what's truly going on in here when we're hitting lows. We'll try to make it easy for someone to understand because we realize the deeper we get, the less they understand based on how they look at us. That's why most of us disassociate. Reason being. So yeah, no, I don't believe people want to pivot because the cycle teaches us to be addicted to the stress in and of itself. So when we feel the stress and we recognize the trauma, or we perceive to be trauma, because now everything's trauma. Everything is trauma. And guess what? They got a pill for everything. So in my space, how I operate day to day, I have to observe honestly what I'm becoming. I have to observe in real time. Am I living up to the things I say I aim to do? Am I truly becoming the person I say I aim to be? Or day by day, am I doing a little bit less because, oh man, the weight's surmounting. Oh man, the pressure's getting there again. Oh man, the stress of my personal relationship. Oh man, the stress of my wife. Oh man, this isn't going right. Oh man. So then real life kicks in. And that's where, as I said many times to everyone and to myself every day, this is your time to double down. It gets hard. And in that moment, we become weak because of how hard it gets. And then there's always that voice trying to tell you to take the easier route because it's easier. The brain's trying to protect you to some degree, right? But even that is a false truth because that was taught to us. We weren't taught to be warriors. We were taught to be weak as a whole because every warrior is not the hyper-aggressive one. There's so many warriors that are coolest, calmest, quietest people. That's why a lot of people get me confused because I'm loud. They think I'm trying to be aggressive or dominating or put someone down. I'm like, bro, you just haven't been around me and your dumb ass doesn't know how to read the room because you're looking at a clip that triggered you based on something you don't want to deal with in real time because I'm a reflection of you. So how the fuck could you be mad that I'm presenting how I am? Instead of asking, well, what happened in your life that you present like that? Because you don't give a fuck. That's simple. That's cool, and I'm cool with that. But don't label me because you don't understand what the fuck you're seeing. I observe my own emotions in real time. I observe how things make me feel and then make sure I don't let myself linger in the emotion. So if I need to exude it, let it out, it'll come out via the ability to communicate. Most of us, again, going back to full circle, what I said, we can't communicate what's going on in here. So how the fuck can someone from the outside tell us, well, this is what you should do based on the depression that you're feeling, even though I don't even understand where your depression comes from, why you're lingering in a state of depression that can be observed based on things that occurred, unless you truly are so chemically off that you need medication. But that is not the majority.
The reason why they can't communicate is because we're not feeling the feelings, we're thinking the feelings, we're psychoanalyzing the feelings. Where, in my personal experience, I've thought how my feelings should be. I understand that I have a certain level of self-awareness that, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm able to run a checklist down. But instead of actually feeling what I'm feeling the sadness or feeling the anger or feeling the happiness, I'd rather think what I'm feeling. Oh, I think I'm happy. But
are you acting like it?
Am I acting
Are you
like
living in a state of happiness?
Or am I living in a state of, quote unquote, a depressive state? Am I living in that? Because yes, we want to be able to, in a snap of a finger, we want to be able to make ourselves happy in that moment. And when we sit and we actualize those feelings and we're able to feel those feelings instead of thinking how we feel, I think that we can be able to get around a lot of the depression, a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the stress or quote unquote trauma that we can now break out of because instead of thinking it, we're feeling it. So it's able to process and go through much better. It's like if you're making food, if, for example, like a McDonald's or something like that, something goes wrong within the making of the food, there's a blockage now. They now have to, the ice cream machine doesn't work. Now we can't make them a McFlurry, so there's a stoppage now.
Right.
Instead of actually having the ice cream machine working so we can produce, there's now a blockage. And I think that blockage, maybe that wasn't the correct analogy, but the blockage comes when we think our feelings instead of feeling our feelings, which in return, we can't communicate our feelings now because we're thinking it.
Interesting.
What's your thoughts on
I think people don't know what their true feelings are. They don't have enough of a vocabulary a lot of times or enough of a guidebook on what feelings are by definition. I think people, if you look at Carl Jung, who defined the shadow as being the unconscious part of our mind where we house all of the things we think ill of ourselves, all the things we need hide from society based on judgment. Then we have the ego and the persona, which are housed together. And then we have the higher self, the true self, which to many people only glimpse at and don't truly observe in their lifetime. because they get caught up in the cycle of repression of the shadow and enhancement of the ego persona. Never accepting that there is a higher self because these are byproducts of fear and doubt. So I believe that a lot of people don't acknowledge their feelings. They do feel and act out their feelings. That's why you have a lot of people who are quicker to argue, quicker to be hyper responsive, or run. Tuck tail and run. In any aspect, job, relationship, dropping out of school, shit gets hard. What you do in one aspect, you do in all. So people don't acknowledge the reasons why things are occurring in most aspects of their lives. There's no self-agency. So if there's a lack of self-agency, I don't think people are psychoanalyzing their feelings because I don't even think they give a fuck about their feelings. They're so far removed from the concept and idea of just acknowledging what caused them to think they're feeling the feeling, when most times we're talking about someone being triggered based on a lack of self-agency and self-awareness on a very deep intrinsic level. They don't see themselves in third person. They have no omniscient view. So as far as psychoanalyzation, yeah, if you're talking about people that even understand what the fuck psychoanalyzation is, fuck yeah, I agree with you. There's a percentage of people that know what the fuck this is, and you know, they're in it. That's their field, that's their world, that's their language, that's their verbiage. From some social workers that went a little bit deeper and take their job serious, so they go deeper into the psychological aspect of it so they can be of service to people. Teachers, actual psychiatrists and psychotherapists and analysts. And then people that observe societal constructs. I don't think, if we're talking about the layman and we're talking about our common people, just people as a whole, no. I don't think they're psychoanalyzing their feelings because I don't think they know what their feelings are. Don't think they know.
So you don't think they even get that far to psychoanalyze?
I put it like this. Think of interactions on a day-to-day basis, just any and all. How many people actually ask, how are you feeling, and go to deeper with it? How many people actually stop after they ask, how are you feeling, and then wait to see what you say and engage your response honestly? And then to go a level deeper, if you actually got that hypothetical scenario, which most people don't, did the person respond with honesty?
It's kind of the reason why I asked you how you were doing.
Oh, no, I'm always honest. I love it because, you know, I'll be in the gym and then someone that knows me will be talking to someone that doesn't know me and they try to stop me on my way out or moving somewhere and they'll be like, how you feeling? They'll be like, what's going on? And I tell them how I'm feeling because, you know, I realize that they don't understand how a proper human interaction should work. So if you want to stop me and you want my time, well, my time has value, and I don't want to talk about nonsensical icing. I can go straight to the meat. You know, that's how life should work. These are human interactions, right? I'm not in a work setting where I have to put on a mask and maintain and, oh man, you look off today. You got to be smiles. Because if I'm not smiles, I'm not smiles. Who am I smiling for if I don't have the smile in me to give right now? And if I have all the light in the world to give, then I fucking give my light. But when I don't fake it for anyone, because everyone that's faking giving light, what the fuck are they actually pouring out into you? They pain in their darkness. If they light ain't real. So again, I take the time I need to separate because I do overanalyze myself. And I know I can't be objective. It's impossible. I'm looking at myself. So I have to observe myself to the best of my ability from another's lens. That's why I will use Carl Jung's lens. That's why I will use Epictetus's lens. I will use Socrates' lens. I will use Hermes' lens. I will use John Bain's lens. And as I get deeper into my studies and my psychoanalyzation of self and the dialogue with self, and then observing if that dialogue in self is translating to the real world. The better I get with that brutal honesty with myself, the better I get with just having true, pure interactions no matter where I go, because I don't have a mask to wear for anyone anymore. I was stripped away of the privilege of wearing the mask when the pain just kept getting thrown on me in such an illogical way. In such an illogical way. And me, myself, and I have to fight to stay in the realm of logic, because I observe when I just feel my feelings or think I know my feelings and don't find the honesty in it, I fuck a lot of shit up, mainly for myself. I'm self-destructive. But since we're all reflections of each other, if I have associations with anyone, what the fuck do I become to them? Destructive. So, my interactions will be pure for my protection at this point, because the mask is detrimental for me to wear. Now, maybe if someone has a big enough check, there'll be something inside of me for, that preservation, and then I'll be able to like push things to the side, because this will impact my children. This will impact my legacy. Sitting in rooms with people where their energy is fucking poisonous. But you know what? This conversation, there's money. This is a viable thing. I'm at a point where I'll do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. But for these meaningless interactions, and I call them meaningless because so many people don't have meaning in it, I'll create the meaning. I'll fuck their day up because I gave them the truth. No more, no less. No more, no less. And I fucked everybody up. Why? Because damn, son, why you ain't just lie? Why you ain't lie about everybody else? Yeah, I'm good. All right, bye, peace. Yo, it's good. Yo, everything good? Yo. Everybody good, huh? Nobody got nothing fucked up going on because nobody want to tell nobody, because goddamn, I'm not going to sit here to help you with it. So don't tell me about it, man. Just hit me with the regular shit. Everything good? We good. Everything good. All is good. Nah, when it ain't good, it ain't good. It's getting there. If you're emotional, if you wear your verbiage and how to manipulate yourself towards the path to greatness, back on to the path of greatness if you was on it and you swayed off, got knocked off, fell in the hole. That is the path in and of itself. The path to greatness is so fucking treacherous. Why do you think so few people take it? This shit is meant to destroy you. Because in that death of self, the death of ego and persona, you'll find your higher self. You'll integrate your shadow. All the things that I thought ill of myself. Yeah, I'm fucked up because I tell people what it is. I was always like this. I was like this as a kid. But I was silenced and I'm talking out of turn and don't do this. No. And then it's like every time I was just being myself, what I thought I was being taught to be, there was a counterpoint to show me in real time. No, that's not what you, don't be you. Be this. Like, cool. You think you know what you are. You think you know who you are. Be this. Do this and do it this way. So yeah, once I was a part of the matrix for as long as possible. I was a part of the societal construct and fought to be a part of the societal construct for no other reason than acceptance. And I'm talking about every level of the societal construct, from the working a 9 to 5 to being a fucking piece of shit, running the streets, doing as much dirt as possible for the fuck of it, and then doing it because I thought it was my only way to survive based on the situation I put myself into. So I got to play so many roles, personas, and live them. I lived them. So it's not like I was playing them in the sense that like I wasn't on TV playing this shit. This was my fucking life. I caught cases. I fucked shit up. I ruined shit. I ain't make sense to a lot of people. Why? Because when I thought I was making sense as being the most hyperlogical version of me, I kept getting told, stop, be this. And then finally when I, fell into character, that shit almost ruined and took my life away. So here I am in a version of self that I am conscientiously building based on the connections that I have to people that I value at the utmost, and the fact that I understand death is fucking looming. Everybody's death is looming. To some degree, you just don't know exactly when on the clock it's going to hit. And because we don't want to recognize it, because that's so final and that's depressing. Oh, that's dark. How the fuck is it dark if it's guaranteed for all? And that's why people so lost. How could you be your own light? You think that the guarantee of life, which is supposed to give you the fact of the beauty of life, that it's going to end. We don't make no moments count. Don't nobody else make no moments count. And the few people that do, we turn them into something special, so we can't be that. Fuck that. Fuck them.
As we in a society today where men's mental health is neglected, and as it is Mental Health Awareness Month,
Indeed.
do you think that the I probably already know where you're going to go with this, but in that aspect of saying how are you doing or trying to be upfront, and as you live in that truth, as you know that truth, some people are unable to do so, and as they either have preconditioned, you're not able to say this, preconditioned heartbreak or pain where they've felt and they were upfront and honest with a friend, with a parent, with a spouse, with a partner, they are now neglected. They are now unable to remove that mask. And because of that pain, because of that hurt, they have to now put back on the mask. In a society where that is now accepted, projected, and glorified, how can one take off that mask? How can they live in their authentic self without feeling judged or by themselves or other people?
Without feeling judged.
And having empathy for them.
Without
giving themselves compassion and empathy.
Then they have to give themselves enough grace to be honest with themselves, and they need to be prepared for the reality, deal reality on reality's terms. You're going to quote unquote feel alone. I was just explaining this to my wife literally this morning, word for word, as she's in a program to become a certified high priestess. She's in her spiritual path of growth and awakening and self-awareness. The dark night of the soul is presented, and all of your traumas of past resurface. So now, again, as I talked about myself and your all reflections, without going too deep into any type of detail, this is general because it applies to all. Negative feedback loop cycle begins. An individual becomes self-destructive. So then what can that individual be to any and all around them? Destructive. Now, you talk about being alone. Even if you're in a relationship, if you are the one guiding your partner to their higher self, you best know that those three things you asked for or spoke on in the end are not real. They're going to feel all of that. Alone, judged, rejected, misunderstood. It's exactly why everything I built was off of an idea. Lost dynasty. The rise of the lost, the disenfranchised, the forgotten. Because each of us that got pushed away, if you allowed yourself to make it through the darkness, the dark night of soul, you will find your shadow at the end of it. And that's where you are given the ability now to observe your shadow, your ego, your persona that you've created, and the fork in the road is there. Because you're in this moment alone, quote unquote, who do you have to wear the mask for? There's no one left to wear the mask for. That's when the breakdowns happen. That's when the depression comes. If it's a person that has a predisposition to drug use, that's when they disappear from everyone they know because they are off the wagon, so to speak, whatever their drug of choice is. There's no need to go into any specific because everyone has a drug of choice, whether it be women, marijuana, to the point that they can't do anything when they smoke weed. You know, some people are ADHD, so they smoke weed and they still, it doesn't change nothing for them. Other people smoke weed and be like, damn, so I can't even do anything. Then you should not be smoking weed. Or smoke it responsibly, motherfucker. Like, you can't smoke first thing in the morning if you can't do anything. So everyone has a drug of choice that they'll use to disappear from the world. Cocaine, meth, heroin, don't matter. Everyone, every human. Prescription drugs, Percocets, Percodans, doesn't matter. Xanax, again, Vicodin. This is where we get confused. So we could feel like our pain is special, our pain is different. We try to belittle another's experience when they fall into addiction, when they fall into the low. That's our moment. Because, you'll never go through that. No one else is going through that. You get to pretend you're special. Each of us do. We get to pretend we're special because we don't want to deal with the reality. That everybody's going through the same as that shit, just to a different degree, because we're all on the same continuum, just at a different point. We're all reflections. 8 billion fucking humans on the planet. And the biggest thing that they found to fight about is the differences they perceive to be real, when none of them are. Wicked.
Curious to know, how have you been able to teach your children about emotions, not psychoanalyzing, feeling them?
My children feel their emotions in the raw. They deal with it in real time. They experience it in real time. And they are being taught how to self-observe in real time. So my daughter, who is 4 turning 5, has a little moment, is human. And I have to extrapolate that is me times, 35 times that. But I just have the faculties to know how to control it so that I don't ram my head into a wall, punch something, punch someone, do something. So now how do I teach that to her? I have to give her tools because the words don't mean shit. So I give her real tools, like breathing exercises. I taught my daughter how to breathe. I taught my daughter, we still lit? Or 9.
I actually can't tell. Okay, my bad.
We still lit, gang. We heard the beat, nigga. We didn't know what it was. But, yeah, I taught my daughter breathing techniques. I taught my daughter how to count her breathing. I taught my daughter how to watch her breath in the sense that I tell her breathe. I'll breathe with her so she knows what I'm saying. So I tell her breathe. She does it. She sees me do this, and I do this on purpose. Why? So she could hold it in. And I do this. And I look at her. I say, breathe again. And I do all of this. Why? Because her little mind is now being distracted. Because the feeling's not real. She got triggered. She didn't get what she wanted. Simple as that at her age. She didn't get what she wanted. So now she's overloading. Well, I can't teach you about not getting what you want if I can't get you to observe what's happening. So I have to work you through the feeling because the feeling's not real. So I teach you the exercise so that there's no word about, you were angry. We don't have to talk about that. And she's past it. And now we talk about what the real lesson is. You can't always get what you want. When you're supposed to have your snack, you'll get your snack. You know when your snack times are. You already had your snack. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. A child's mind's not going to take in but so much information. So it's on us to make it palatable so their little minds can digest it. Here's where it gets silly. Most adults haven't been taught how to properly process information in real time as it's coming in. So they definitely can't process their emotions because they weren't taught no exercises. They weren't given no tools. They lost in themselves. That's why so many people just have defensive responses because that's all we can create on our own without being given tools.
I would like to be able to, as a child, I think that I dissociated a lot because I had anger issues. Not many people know that. They see me now and they're kind of...
You think you're Mr. Zen?
Yeah, they're taken back by it.
That's because they don't realize reality. If you're Mr. Zen, that means you're the most bugged out, rageful one. I always knew that. You would never have had to tell me that. I'm glad you said it because I would have never said it publicly without you saying it to me first. Or saying it in a public setting, obviously. But yeah. Duh. I was wondering when we'd have this. Yeah. How did it present for you? How did your anger present as a kid? If you want to go into any of it, any examples.
Of course.
Yeah.
I threw tantrums a lot. When I didn't get my way, I'd often throw a fit.
Physical?
Or
more just emotional?
I would say emotional. I would say I never really hit nobody, but it was more or less like I would, attitude, anger,
rage out. Yeah.
It was all the emotional aspect of it. Now, back then I had to go. I went to therapy as like a 10-year-old. So, how do I go to therapy? How do I get medicated for something that a natural 10-year-old boy is supposed to be able to do?
No outlets, huh?
No, I mean I had basketball.
That's not an outlet for aggression.
I didn't have no boxing. I didn't have physical, no
karate, no nothing.
No nothing. And
just basketball.
basketball, potential. I played football a little bit, but I was never like the most physical one.
Right.
I don't know. I guess growing up, I was more or less. I didn't want to use the aggression because I think as I was growing up, as going to therapy from 10 on, 12 on,
Yeah.
I was self-aware on the anger. So I never got to replenish the anger. I never got to.
You were told the anger was wrong?
Pardon?
Were you told the anger was wrong to any degree? Were you made to feel? Because I don't think they would have told you directly it was wrong.
I was made to feel that.
You were made to feel, okay.
And now as I'm 23 and I practice boxing, it's exhilarating because that part of myself as a child was never able to
live
that.
Yeah.
You know? I was never able to live that.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had to take care of my mom emotionally. I had to be able to be the rock sort of sense. And as I wanted to be this, rambunctious kid,
regular boy.
As I did some crazy things. I mean, by the time I was like 12 years old, I threw myself in a pool and I had to swim by myself.
You wanted to learn.
And I think within that disassociation, I don't really remember much because I think I was so disassociated from going to therapy and not feeling the whole emotion of anger, of saying, you know what, anger is okay, but you have to be able to use it in a certain sense. You have to be able to use it in a certain way. You can't just obviously have an emotional rage and an outpour of emotion because that's detrimental to other people.
Yeah.
Not only them, but yourself. And it's a blessing and a curse because I've not been able to let out or heal that inner child as I'm trying to do that now.
Yeah.
But it's also good because now my emotional intelligence is now a lot higher for people my age or as I feel, because I'm able to identify, okay, this is why I'm feeling this. I'm feeling anger because of this. I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling anxious. I want to avoid this because I need to self-regulate right now, which obviously, yes, it has bad and good to it. But would I have liked to live as the rambunctious child for a little bit? Absolutely. Do I try to find those things now that can allow me to be rambunctious? Absolutely. I mean, it's not in any thrill where it's like a motorcycle, but boxing, physical.
No, that's the best route. You be physical.
And I think that's, for me personally, and I could imagine how we just had that kind of connection that you felt that same way.
I had bullies and shit, so I had to get into fighting and shit when I was young. Like, my bullying stopped at 2nd grade because my cousin was 8 years older than me, and he's beating the dog shit out of me because I had a bully, because I got beat up. So the option became stop that dumb shit and beat him up. Or every time I hear you got beat up, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. He's 8 years older than me. I'm 8 years old. I'm sorry, I'm 7 years old. So yeah, no, my rage was discovered early. My primal rage was discovered early. So my fight, because I'm not going to die, you're going to fucking die mode was found early. Like, so I have a thrill with pain. I have a thrill with letting that shit out. I just have to keep it in a very structured space. That's why I like Muay Thai. That's why I like BJJ, because it's structured. And as long as, I'm not trying to hurt none of my training partners, but that's why we go to competition, because you're not my training partner. You're the person I'm here to hurt. So, every man, to some degree, has to observe that they have the capacity for brutality. If you don't observe it, to some degree, at some point, in some scenario, you're going to be or bear witness to brutality, and it'll fuck with you psychologically because you might have in that moment realized as a man, maybe you could have, maybe you would have, maybe you should have, blah, 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 blah. We are animals at the end of the day, and we think ourselves special and separate from the animal kingdom because we have a consciousness. We have a consciousness, but we're still primal creatures, no more, no less. That's why in high anxiety moments and threatening moments, when there's calamity and chaos, all of our primal instincts take over and come back out because we are nothing but animals. So it behooves us to go out of our way to observe our capacity on either end of the spectrum. Not mean you have to live out that maximum brutality and be that. That's wicked. Then you're a scourge on the earth, which I have. I've been fucked up, like I said. That's how I found the best version of me. I built it by recognizing the difference between my shadow, ego persona, and then my higher self. The only way for us to do this is just to be willing to go through the shit. And again, for men, we have to be willing to go through the shit. You know, and it's better for us to choose what shit we go through than wait for life to just put us through the shit. It's going to anyway. That shit gonna happen regardless. There's no way it won't happen. Whether it's the pain of loss of loved ones, whether it's the pain of the loss of relationship, whether it's the pain of serious injury, physical trauma, anything. The job of your dreams, you work 10 years and just lay you up. Like, everyone has something that's gonna, if you had no preparation for it, it breaks you. And again, for men, because we're physical creatures, our emotions are tied specifically to our physicality, whether we want to accept it or not. And that's why a lot of men that don't have physical release don't end up knowing how to deal with their emotions. And they become usually detrimental to, drumroll, women. Because their animal nature comes out and they're now around a weaker creature. They revert to their lower self. Primal animals. That's why, just like an animal, it could be a threat to that weaker creature until a stronger animal comes around. Then they hide that shit. They don't want to show those ways because they don't want to risk the real animal hurting them.
Yeah.
That's real life. That's real life.
But I'm listening to this and I'm trying to be able to like navigate through my personal experiences, the things that I've observed.
Yeah.
Within myself, within my life, and what I've observed within other people. And it does make sense why the only resort to some people would be against women or
people that are weaker. The whole subset of human beings. Everyone knows, it's all about power. So much to study about our idea of power. It's so sad because we have innately power. And then so many of us, because life strips away our power in certain constructs, we try to reclaim power where we can. And again, if we don't have knowledge of self, self-awareness, self-agency, you become self-destructive. And then, as I said, if you are self-destructive, anyone that bears witness to you for long enough, you become destructive to them. Stay into the void long enough, the void stares back.
I think, I guess I can speak on personal experience instead of using that anger towards women or all of those things. I think I was just a more self-aware version of myself in terms of I was able to identify these certain things, certain triggers, or.
Well, you had your mother. You said you had your mother. Yeah. That was the ultimate teacher, because the mother is the mother is life. The mother is life in general. Like the idea of a mother, what a mother brings life to the world. So that's the divine feminine energy, and as a male, as a masculine, we need the balance. I'm nothing without my feminine nature to balance me out, so that I'm not just pure rage, and just war and just destruction all the time. That is my balance. That's how I'm able to chill out and not scream all the time, bug all the time. Like everybody thinks that's 24/7. It don't gotta be. If shit rile me up, it rile me the fuck up. But after that, I chill out. I rile up and I chill out because I'm observing. Oh shit, I'm feeling this. How I feel in this moment because this is what the shit made me feel. And then like the baseline, I choose my baseline. You were able to choose a baseline early on because of those interactions with your mother. Because if they were you being the hyper aggressive one, you knew you'd be a detriment to your mother. Whether it was her psyche, her spirit, whatever it was, you knew it. You didn't let that role and that character and that persona build out. That's a good thing.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's a great thing.
I'm connecting a lot of dots right now.
It's a great thing, you know. At that young age, you have no idea, like, these concepts of shadow, ego, persona. But again, it's something that just naturally, innately happens at a young age. You didn't get the chance to have the shadow. If your mother was reaffirming you, you built, in a sense, like a young version of the higher self, because you are naturally masculine. You're male. But the energy you was absorbing was the divine feminine. So you was able to get, in a sense, balanced young, but now you have to pour back in from a cultivated masculine energy source so that you can create at this age and stage a new balance and a new version of the higher self, because you have a strong foundation. That's what gives you the ability to observe and then choose what to build. You just got to make sure those tools are there. Gang. Darkness.